Take two. All right. So from the top, because I don't want people to miss anything that was said by you specifically. Well, guys, welcome back to the stream. If you're just joining us, this is the Sovereign Cessna Citation Sovereign Plus, also known as the C680. And we have a very special guest today who is not my imaginary friend. He is a real person, and he goes by the name John from Skyward Simulations. He is just turned 20 years old. He is the guy, holy crap. He is the guy that is in charge of the avionics, the systems, the flight model, and the engine simulation. So this guy is literally the heartbeat of the aircraft. Say hello to the chat one time, John.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? And maybe that F-18 that just buzzed you. I don't know what that was.
I know it doesn't sound like. That's what I get for being a Microsoft multiplayer. It's all good though. All right, so yeah, so I mean, you guys didn't really miss much as far as like the aircraft. I think you heard me talk about the way the doors work and things like that. So we'll continue with our external pre-flight. So with the oxygen and whatnot, we can refill the oxygen. As you notice, my left tank is actually a little bit emptier than my right tank at the moment, and we can click on these two little points to refill them. Am I saying that correct, John?
Yeah, so you got your refill ports there. This is all like Lucas's work. He loves to go into this stuff, and he even made it like react to temperature changes. So if you were to suddenly fly in colder air, you'll kind of see some oxygen leak out. Or he even made it where I think if you move forward like 5 years in sim time, you lose like basically half your oxygen pressure. So he kind of went a little bit crazy on that.
Yeah,
it's cool to see, but yeah, it's
just I like crazy.
An example right there.
I like it when you guys go crazy, go crazy, go nuts on these planes, man. Like, be creative, give us something different, something new. You know what I mean? I love that, and I feel like you guys kind of give us that, and we'll show why here a little bit. All right, cool. So I don't know how I got that oxygen card out here. I'll remove it later on. Next up, we have our fuel panel. Just gonna open the door very quickly. Like so. Oh, we just got buzzed by F-18 again, or an A320. So we can remove the fuel cap. And again, just to confirm, you can't actually like manually fuel, right? I don't think that's a
thing. There's no hose. There is a fuel truck, but there is not really like any interaction going on here. It's just purely kind of like a visual thing.
Yeah, I still think it's pretty cool. But you know, I mentioned Lucas already before. I thought it would be cool that if you could actually see a hose at least connecting, even if you can't manually fuel it, at least connecting. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But again, that's just my personal request. I don't know what other people think. It's really not a deal breaker. All right, we'll remove the engine fan. I posted a video this morning, and one guy was very impressed by the windmilling sound.
Yeah, I saw that comment too.
Yeah, I love it too. I do feel like a lot of aircraft like miss that. They don't put that on there.
Yeah, I think the two that come to mind, I think there's like the Phoenix and the Challenger. They do that really well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When we got Boris on that, it was really nice to have that nice little detail, and it even reacts to wind and all that.
Oh yeah,
which is really nice. Yeah,
it's really prominent. Like in real life, when you're around these aircraft and the windmilling, is all you hear. You know.
Yeah, so it's a nice click. Pretty satisfying too.
So here is where
just redid this.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, you won't have it in this build, but in the next build, you'll kind of see that it's a little bit revamped. We actually added some lights there where it says pre-charge level and overfill level. And we have all that obviously hooked up to the electrical system and whatnot. But one of our testers is like a pretty big ramp rat, and he wanted to basically overhaul the entire lab system. So this was on Lucas's to-do list today.
Shout out to my ramp rats out there. I'm one of them. I love a little ramp immersion. I love me a little ramp immersion, and no one has been bold enough, and we'll show something off later. No one has been bold enough to simulate the lab system in any plane ever. I'm not talking about just flush and tow this chat, like ever. All right, so we have our battery disconnect. We have one on both the right and the left side for the two batteries. Now, this is something you do know a little bit about. Can you talk a little bit about quickly? Kind of this battery disconnecting. What is it for? Is it simulated? Is it visual?
Yeah, so the battery does disconnect. You have two main batteries on the airplane. You have one on the left and one on the right. They're both 24 volts, nickel cadmium, and then disconnecting the batteries, you'll typically do this if you leave the airplane out for a while because if you have the battery connected, you have what's called a hot bus, which is essentially a strip of components. You can think of it like just like a power extension strip with you can plug a ton of stuff in, and it will essentially always be powered. Now, or able to be powered rather. So, for example, one of the things you can power without even turning on the batteries in the cockpit is your baggage lights. So, say you one day kind of open the baggage door, you peep inside. It's maybe nighttime, so you turn the baggage light on, and then you close the door, forget about it, and you leave the airplane for a few days. That light's still going to be on, right? But at that point, the batteries are still connected. Nothing is charging them, so you're essentially draining them. Now, unfortunately, Asobo does not give us a way to kind of force the batteries into like a capacity so that we can use it and kind of save it between sim sessions.
Yeah.
But I think we're able to at least persist if the batteries are connected or disconnected after each flight. So if you want to kind of just simulate that, you're going to leave the airplane for a few days, you can disconnect it, and then once you're ready to go back and fly the airplane again, you got to make sure you connect them, and then you'll be good to go.
Gotcha. All right, I'll go ahead and make sure it's in place. Next up, we have I think this is the hydraulic service axis. Is there any simulation going on here, or is it kind of totally visual?
I think this one is totally visual. I know we do have I think it's the kind of the labels on the indicator might be messed up, but actually there might be a click spot there. I'll be honest, like this is
on the two bottom pieces.
Yeah, so maybe it does do something. I'll be honest, this is probably more of a Lucas thing since he kind of deals with all the outside stuff.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we also implement like servicing the hydraulic system, because there's something that I think it would be cool to simulate. And we can also add like your hydraulic reservoir draining over time and whatnot.
Okay, am I crazy? It's so subtle. Am I crazy? But is this little door just moving ever so slightly?
The door. Let me see.
Maybe it's my camera. And I feel like this door is like slightly like blowing in the wind. I could be tripping. I don't know. I think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy.
I think I see some. I can't tell if it's the camera or not.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe there's like
it's really hard to tell.
I do have what's it called, chase plane on. So chase plane.
Oh, so it might be doing like that breathing effect.
Yeah, it does have like a little breathing effect. I wasn't sure if it was the panel moving or if it was me.
I mean, it's something I wouldn't be surprised if Lucas actually did, but no, probably not.
So another battery disconnect on this side. We already talked about that. Works the same way. As you guys saw earlier, I already opened up the baggage compartment. He was just talking about the light inside here. If you leave it on, it'll drain a battery over time. At least in real life, it does. So there it is. We'll get that closed, so we don't have to worry about that for departure. Somebody in chat was asking, are we flying today? Yes, we are departing today. We're flying from Key West to Jamaica today. About an hour-ish flight. There's an ATR out there. Pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and make our way on the inside, get the aircraft powered up, and we'll start with the APU, actually.
All right. Yeah, that's what I would like to see. I don't want to see any GPUs around here. We got an APU, let's use it.
Right. All right, so again, you're the subject matter expert in all this. If you don't mind kind of walking us through, we'll take a look at the EFB later. Actually, let's make sure we have fuel first, right? That's been my big mistake often, is I don't have fuel to actually get the APU started. So that's on the services page. We have our ground power selected. You guys can see it's all the EFB, ground, lab services, fuel truck, payload, and you have 1,900 pounds, which is fine. I guess I'll go ahead and just import my flight plan right now. Kind of get that over with. Which I thought I had up. Apparently I don't. I did make a flight plan. That I do know. I did file it. Let's see. All right, so new. Yep, we're flying from Key West to Jamaica. And I should be able to just import that down here. Simbrief import fuel. 4,100 pounds. That is correct. And payload. There we go. So is that just instant? Like, is that loaded now, or is there a load option I got to press somewhere else?
So yeah, this is just purely instant loading. We did just make it an option where you can kind of split between the fuel and payload from SimBrief, or if you just click outside of those two buttons, within the like just basically the big blue button, it would just do both fuel and payload.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
And
so there you go. Now you got fuel and payload.
let's see. Did I import? I did. Okay, so my flight plan is now here showing on the main screen. Call sign November 116 Bravo in the Citation Sovereign flying to Jamaica. Cool. All right, so now that that's loaded, yeah, so we'll look at the EFE a bit more later, but walk me through kind of like the initial power up to APU start.
Yeah, so typically the first thing you want to do in the airplane, I mean, in real life, you would also, check a few more things, kind of like the documents of the airplane, making sure it's airworthy and whatnot. Maybe stuff like the first aid kits. We check the stuff in the cabin. But for us, today, what you want to do in the sim is mostly focus on just the cockpit. So you want to make sure your circuit breakers are all in.
Right.
Make sure there's nothing conflicting there. And then people will often probably go straight to the battery switches, power the airplane. But an important check you want to do is the emergency lights. So that'll be on the overhead.
On overhead, okay.
And essentially, you want to basically flip the switch to on, and then you'll go ahead and look behind you. Make sure that you see your overhead lights are on, the emergency exit lights on.
Like that exit sign right there?
Yeah, you got a few in there. I think there's 3 total. You have the one by the main cabin door, one by the back, and then one in the lav. And it's going to be more obvious at night. You'll also see dropped aisle lighting as well. And then once that's all good, you'll bring the switch to arm. Do the same thing, just make sure everything still stays on. And then once you've done that, you can go to your standby power switch.
Okay, standby power.
And then you'll hold that for
the test
10 seconds. Into test for 10 seconds, you'll see a green light. Make sure that green light stays illuminated. And this is basically just an output given by the standby battery. So you don't want to see it essentially go, the light extinguish in those 10 seconds. And then once you're done with that, you'll switch the standby power switch to on. Okay. It'll be amber.
Yep.
Amber indicates that the standby battery is essentially powering the standby bus and is draining. And then once that all is good, you can turn the left and right batteries on.
Copy. Left and right battery. 1, 2.
So now everything will boot up. You got all your avionics. You'll hear the lovely avionics fans that are pretty much at its end of life, which was funny because we sourced it from the real airplane. Everyone, I've already seen a few faces of people reacting to it live. That was.
So is that why it sounds that way? Like it has that kind of
yeah, and I'm ready. I'm waiting for someone to be like, oh, that's not wrong, and I'll just send the real video from one of our pilots. I mean, the fan is kind of at its end of life, but I think it adds a little bit of character there.
I love that. I love character. I love that growling sound it makes. Again, I don't fly the plane. I don't know anything how it sounds in real life, but it just sounds cool. I love that you didn't use some brand new avionic, but you had.
Yeah, I mean, at the time they didn't have any, so we just got whatever we stuck with. I mean, if we waited a few weeks, maybe they would have changed it out. But no, everything is pretty much sourced from the real airplane here in terms of sounds. Thanks to a number of pilots on the team, thankfully. All right, so now that
hold
we
on
got
just a second. Are you guys hearing the sim audio? Okay, chat. Everybody's saying the sim audio is low. Let me check here. Oh yeah, it's very low. It's not even coming through, it sounds like. There it is. There it is. Alright. Chat, can you hear it now?
Oh yeah, I got it as well on my end.
Yeah, sorry that we again had some audio issues. I kinda wanna do it. If I do it again, will it make the sound again?
Yeah, you can turn them off, turn them back on.
Alright, we're gonna run the battery again. I want you guys to hear this. This sounds pretty cool. All right, so you can obviously. Wow, you guys weren't hearing the windmilling at all either. Man, I wish you guys would have told me sooner. Sheesh. All right, here we go. Battery 1, 2.
We got that?
Yep. Got
All
it
right.
that time.
Sweet.
All right, so what's next?
All right, so after this, what I like to do is kind of just go straight into the
system
APU
test.
start.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I know we have external power available, but we're just going to use the APU today. So what you want to do is you want to look at the knob and then just switch it to on.
Is that me?
I think so.
Oh my god, what a stream. Everybody's contacting me. Hold on.
You know what? Yeah, it might be a good idea real quick, just so the batteries don't drain or anything.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back, guys. Sorry.
All right.
Everything okay? You good? Was John good to you
Yeah, I
guys?
was just I was answering a few questions here and there.
Sweet. Yeah, he again extremely sorry. Again, I wouldn't do that to you if it was an emergency.
But you're all good, man.
Sorry, chat. Sorry, John. So where did we leave off, or what? Any good questions they were asking in the chat for you that you were explaining?
Yeah, it's just a few things about the airplane and whatnot. I think we got our APU started, right? Hard to tell from here.
So is it a G5000 or G3000?
So
G1000?
it is a G5000. Now, a lot of people think the G3000 is, or like the G5000 has, but you can tell what it is just by, you know, it's 4 GTC controllers. That's not really the case, because you can look at the Citation XLS retrofit, which has 2 GTCs, and it's a G5000. What distinguishes the G3000 from the G5000 is just simply the part certification that the airplane is under. So in this case, the Sovereign is a Part 25 airplane, so it is a G5000. Your Phenom 300 is a Part 23 certified airplane, so it has a G3000. Operationally, the avionics it's like the same software underneath, essentially. There is really no difference between the two. There are just held to, you know, different certification standards, essentially. So.
Wow. Didn't know that. All right, well, let's fly this bird. What's next on the list? Are we diving into the Garmin now? Anything else we do in the cockpit?
Yeah, so most of the switches are basically kind of in, you know, their desired state. You don't really fiddle with them much, like all the generators, for example, are in the on position. The one thing we can turn on now that we have actual, you know, power, like a generator powering the airplane, is the interior switch.
Okay.
So that'll be right above your buzz tie. That'll power everything in the back, essentially, like your passenger control screens, and quite a few other things like the other lights and whatnot. And then,
oh wow, as a
you
test.
do have a,
I've never seen that. That was cool.
yeah, there is a boot up sequence. Yeah, you did catch that. Yep.
I just barely caught it. I want to try to see if I can catch it again.
Yeah, you could power cycle the interior, and you can take another look. It's pretty cool.
Look at that. It's like a whole little system test it runs through.
So yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, I think the PAX controller is actually pretty neat with some of the stuff you can do. I know there are some people in here that are familiar with me kind of jamming to the music in there. We do have some songs that you can play.
How does that work?
It's in audio, and it's also royalty free, so you don't have to worry about that.
I can just hit play on this.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll come back.
Yeah, but yeah, we can save that for later. All right, So another thing that is going to get a lot of people is the parking brake. So I notice you have the parking brake low pressure cast, which essentially is displayed because you have your parking brake handle pulled, but the transducers in the brakes are not seeing more than 2,000 psi. So what you want to do is you want to turn on the auxiliary hydraulic pump.
Which is where?
That'll be kind of to the right of the throttle quadrant.
Over here.
Below, yeah, it'll be below those yellow guarded switches.
Yep.
Yeah, so you turn that on. You'll see your auxiliary, or sorry, your hydraulic pressure build up, and then since you already have the parking brake engaged, you can just tap the brakes fully. You want to give it good force, at least 80-90% force.
Okay.
And then once you see park brake on, which I do see it now on your side.
Yep.
Then you have pressure in your brakes, and then you can turn the auxiliary pump off at that point.
So you only do it for that moment.
Yeah, you just basically build the pressure, and the brakes, they have check valves in them. So once you apply that pressure, it's not going to flow out of them essentially.
Gotcha.
So you can turn the pump off and whatnot. All right. So I think apart from that, top of my head, pretty much good to go. You could also do things like the CVR test. Make sure all the knobs, like for the bleed air and pressurization, are in the proper position, which is basically just 12 o'clock or auto,
or
whatever it may be. The CVR, you'll find that in the pedestal, lower pedestal, green test button.
Down here.
Yeah. So the
green. This is a cockpit voice recorder.
Yeah, that's your CVR.
Oh yeah.
So you'll hold that for 5 seconds. Yeah, that's good. You could also test your oxygen. Left side, right side, whatever you want.
Oh yeah. Okay.
One hit is what I always like to say when I hit it.
One hit.
Yeah. So apart from that, the cockpit looks pretty much good to go. You could also turn on your I forgot. I don't think we did this, but your pack safety and your seatbelt signs. You turn those on.
That's above head. Yeah, over here.
Yep.
Pack safety, seatbelts.
And then I think once you have all that, obviously you can adjust your tail flood or your wing inspection if you're at night, but they're not really necessary today.
Right.
Now we can hop into the avionics. So we'll go over to the GTCs.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with any Garmin airplane, this initialization flow kind of just pulls your hand.
It does.
And walks you through everything you need to do to set the airplane up, right? So let's start off on the operating weight tab, where it says crew and stores. We'll probably put this in the manual or somewhere, maybe even in the EFB. But the crew and stores, we like to put 900 pounds in there.
Okay.
So your crew isn't actually 900 pounds. This includes obviously your pilots, which we have them as 210 pounds each. And as well as things like your charts, which weigh a few pounds, and then like things in the refreshment center.
Oh, so that's including like all the food, snacks, drinks,
exactly. So
and people. Okay. So it's not just the pilots and the flight attendant who weigh 900 pounds.
Yeah, it's essentially the pilots and kind of any miscellaneous items near the front of the airplane. Once you got that in, you can go to payload.
All right.
And then you can put in how many packs you have. They weigh at 210 if you use the SimBrief profile, so you can set that.
I am using the SimBrief profile.
So so you'll put in the packs count and then change the weight each to 210 pounds. And then for each passenger, we do load 30 pounds of cargo. It's kind of like a standard weight that you'll find some operators use. So in this case, it would be 270 pounds of cargo.
Thank you for doing the math.
No problem.
I appreciate that. All right, then take off.
Take off. So we have the fuel loaded already, so you can just hit FOB sync. And that's just fuel on board sync.
Oh.
And there you go. So landing, you can. Go ahead.
So we don't need landing yet, do we?
No, I mean you can, if you have your OFP up, you can put in your fuel reserves. So some briefings will give you the reserves, and typically a holding time, which is like 15, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what it is in this case
right now. So
but other than that, it's you can skip it. It's not a big deal. It's not required. So now you can press next.
Yep.
And I don't think it's
Can
probably not
we
necessary
import
to type in
the flight plan from SimBrief, or do I have to put it manually?
No, you can import it. So if we go to back and then home, hopefully this works for you because I know Navgraph did discover an issue in their plugin today. So home services, and then ACARS.
Yep.
And then it'll be flight plan request. And then you should see if you're logged in.
Request.
Yep.
Import.
There you go, and then it'll come up in the flight plan.
That's gonna save us some time.
Yep. So
honestly, I probably would never have found that on my own. But
yeah, we do it a little bit differently than some other Garmin airplanes. Typically, they'll have it on like the homepage, but in the real airplane, we do have it under services in the car. So that's where we decided to put it.
And just as a side note, you have a full ACARS system built in, which we could talk about more later. But there's a whole ACARS system built in, right?
Yeah, ACARS, CBDLC. So if you're using, for example, say intentions beyond ATC or HOCPI, which I guess includes networks like VATSIM or IVEO, you would be able to use that as well. So, and it's a really nice Garmin implementation of it. We've gotten a ton of references and tried to make it as best as we can. It's really awesome to use. So yeah, there you go. You can load your departure and approach, arrival and whatnot.
Yep, it's gonna be ILS 7 speed vectors. And okay, all right, I am done with the flight plan. I'm happy with this.
All right, sounds good. Now we can go back to our init.
So home, and then if I remember, init, and then takeoff data is next.
Yep. So this one's really easy to go through. I mean,
either low
you just sync everything.
I did not get my temperature for whatever reason.
So the temperature, you can just use RAT. So that's basically your basically a temperature probe on the airplane.
Okay.
And that'll just pull the current temperature, which should often match the METAR.
Sweet.
Once you've done that, you can confirm the runway length. Yep.
4,800 feet.
This can be full length.
Here in Key West.
It's plenty for this one. And then takeoff config. We can totally do flaps 1 today. I don't see an issue with that. And all those settings, all those settings look good to me. So
takeoff data.
Takeoff data, and then you should be able to get your speeds and whatnot. Accept it.
All right, so 101, 104, 112, 180. Says we have 48 feet available. We need 2,800 feet, and we have a right crosswind of 9 knots. And next,
so it's gonna be a little bit windy.
Yeah, it's always windy here.
So then you just run through the system test. So a lot of people might look at the auto test button and think, oh, they got to press that, so it'll automatically run through the test. But in Garmin land, you have to do all of these pretty much manually. So you would run through them, stall warning. And we don't have the sounds in for these, but you may see the animation.
Okay.
I actually just got the sound in today.
Yeah.
You'll essentially see the left and right yokes shake. So the left side will shake first, it'll stop, then the right side will shake, and then both sides will shake.
Yeah, I saw just for a split second when I looked over.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more obvious once we get the sounds in.
Yeah,
and they sound pretty good. Engine fire, so you're going to hear left engine fire and right engine fire 3 times. And you'll also want to be looking for the master caution warning and then the engine fire lights kind of right by the autopilot panel. Once you've done that, you can go to the smoke detect. So you hear baggage smoke, baggage smoke, baggage smoke 3 times. And then you'll also see 2 lights on the pedestal light up. Could be your baggage fire and then your baggage or your bottle, secondary baggage bottle arm.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And then what else we got? We got annunciator. Yeah, so this just turns on the lights in the cockpit, making sure everything looks good. And this one you can pretty much skip. Like some of these you don't actually have to let it go to its full length. Like for example, the overspeed. Once you hear the oral, you can pretty much just start the next test.
Okay. HF1.
And then, yep, HF1. So these you cannot skip. If it kind of grays out like that, and you try to start another test, it will basically force you to do the test again. It's not going to complete. So this is just checking both of the HF antennas. Obviously, the HF doesn't really do anything in the sim, but we do simulate the antennas and all the components that are associated with it. So it does open up some possibilities for random failures and whatnot in the future, where we could have some of these electrical components fail, and essentially the airplane will kind of produce that fail test that you may not expect to see.
Cool. All right, so looks like all our system tests are passed and done. I assume we hit next.
Yep, and then you pretty much get 4 checkboxes here once you've done everything.
Yeah.
Once we've verified that, you can press accept initialization.
There it is.
And you're pretty much good to go here. So you can set up the airplane how you like in terms of this, in terms of the displays. I would like to probably suggest the summary synoptic to be up on at least one of them.
The synaptic?
We do have the summary one. Yeah, so it'll be in aircraft systems.
There we go.
Summary. So you can see you have a few things there. It's going to talk about your lights, so your nav, beacon, pulse, and then your auto test. So most of them have passed. The fuel pressures will initiate once your engines are started, because I mean you can't really test fuel pressure if you have none going through the engines right now, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have your no takeoff there at the bottom. So a bunch of those say check. We're going to basically verify everything is okay before we take off. So we'll get the cabin door, parking brake that are trimmed.
Go ahead and shut the door now then.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I closed all the exterior doors. Hope I did.
Always verify that in the EFB, because there are a few doors that actually don't have sensors, so you won't get a CAS message for them. So I think it's just the ones that do is basically the cabin door, the avionics doors, and then the baggage door.
I'll do one more walk around to check. I know I opened like every door it was possible. So it also gives them a chance to hear the loud APU.
Oh yeah.
Nav lights working.
Yep. And I guess we could even remove the chocks now since we also have the parking brake. So.
Yeah, and the GPU, we don't need that anymore.
The board really did a good job with the sound. We really wanted to kind of capture that almost deafening experience, I guess, when you're walking like underneath the APU and whatnot, especially when the bleeder's going and the APU is really trying to pump air into the airplane and whatnot. But yeah, no, I enjoy it a lot. And yeah, like I said, the engine starts alone is just amazing.
All right, all external doors are confirmed, closed, and secured. Chocks were removed. All flags have been removed. External power has been disconnected. We're on AP. We're independent. Flight plan is in. We've accepted initialization. And what is next?
All right. So yeah, let's do. We could probably actually get rid of that oxygen cart before we forget. So you'll find that in the EFB.
Yeah. Services.
Yep. And I gotta remember. I think it's it'll be somewhere in, I think, ground. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
All right.
And we could also see our doors here as well to make sure they're all shut on this page, the access page. All right, cool.
Perfect. All right, so I think we're good to go. Now, this airplane is electric start, so you can, if you want, you could technically keep the APU bleeder on. The pilots and the AFM does suggest that you turn it off so you don't ingest essentially any exhaust or fumes from the engine while you're starting.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and turn the APU bleeder and max cool off. Now, since you do have the max cool on, you basically fully open the bleed air valve. So it takes about 30 seconds for the valve to transit from fully open to closed. And then I think it's around 15 to 20 seconds if you just had the bleed air on and not max cool. So once that is all good, we've taken care of that, we could essentially start the airplane. So
Sweet.
it doesn't really matter what you do in terms of order. I typically just do 2, then 1. And what you want to do is hit the starter first. You'll verify N2 rotation is occurring. And then once you hit 9% N2, you'll put the switch into run. You'll see ignition, and then you'll just let the airplane start.
All right, 8, 9%, and 2. And we click from stop to run, correct?
Yep.
There we go. All right, let's take a listen to that. I know it's a long startup procedure, so.
Oh, yeah. Man,
Chat.
that's awesome.
Chat, tell me what you think. I want to know.
Oh, man, we got to do it in the back of the cabin for the left engine.
All right, we'll do. All right, I think I can do this one on my own. So, we got a good start on engine 2. We want to hit the starter first. Waiting for 9%. Can you start these engines with no APU? Like, can you go straight electrical?
Yeah, you can do battery start. I think the minimum is like you need 24 volts.
Okay.
Minimum.
All right, there's 9%. And uncovered, run, covered, and we'll listen from back here. All right, I'll wait a little while because it is worth the wait. Yo, the inside does not disappoint either. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the way this engine sounds. I love it.
No, it's so unique. Everybody jokes about it. Like if you're around these in real life, you just like everybody jokes that you can hear them from the FBO and whatnot. It's like so obvious that it's this airplane.
Man.
So yeah, now we got basically 2 good engines. We can verify that since our FADECs are showing the takeoff mode.
Yep, I see that
on our N1 gauge. It looks good, and then we can see our fuel pressure tests have been passed. So at this point, you can probably shut the APU off. You don't need it.
All right.
Our generators look to be working, and we're on them.
Nice sound for that APU shutdown as well.
Yep. And the another thing we can do, we can set our trim. So typically, we'll also probably put a chart out for this, depending on your weight and whatnot. But most pilots have told us they like to set their trim usually to 3.
Okay.
In the green band. Sometimes they'll do 3.5, but 3 seems to work out best. And you'll find that you're going to start to need to put a nose down trim on departure anyways. So having it towards 3 probably works out better most of the time.
Sounds good.
And we'll also set our flaps well. So we'll go flaps 1 since that's what we plan for takeoff. And then once they're set to 1, you'll notice that your V speeds will post essentially on the airspeed indicator.
Yep.
Basically like a fail-safe mechanism that Garmin does, where if you don't see your V speeds, you're not configured the takeoff that you planned for. That's pretty nice.
Gotcha.
Apart from that, we can run through some before taxi checks. So this can include our fuel cross speed. So we can put up the fuel synoptic on one of the screens here.
Yep.
And then kind of to the left of the speed brake handle, you'll see a fuel cross speed switch.
Yep, I do.
And what you want to look for, you can just put it in either direction. Doesn't really matter, left or right. So I'll see what side you put it on. You'll put it to
the left.
The left. So what we should expect to see is the left boost pump turn on. We do see that. We'll see the fuel cross speed CAS and the fuel boost pump left on CAS message as well. And then now we can just close the cross speed. So here you're not really transferring fuel from one tank to the other. You're literally just feeding the other engine with the tank from the other side.
Gotcha.
So another thing we could check is the EMER pressure source. So that'll be on the pedestal. The middle knob, put it to EMER.
EMER.
Be kind of right above the CVR. You should hear it get pretty loud in the back.
Am I missing it?
It's right above the CVR.
Okay.
Like
left engine bleed. Pressure
yeah,
source
to the right
norm.
of that. Yeah, it's gonna be pressure source. So put that to EMER.
Oh, okay. I see. Yep. I hear it.
Yeah,
what is that doing?
So that's it. So that basically bypasses all. This is your opens your emergency pressure valve, bypasses all of the the fancy packs and the air cycle machine in the airplane, and it's just feeding straight bleed air into the engine. So it would, if this was real life and you kept it on, it would get pretty hot because that air is pre-cooled, but not pre-cooled enough. I think it's about 160 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh wow.
That's going straight into the cabin. But this is like a, if everything else fails, put the basically open the emergency pressure valve. So we can put that back to norm. And we can do a few tests in the taxi. So we can release the parking brake.
Alright, so ready to taxi?
Yep. Oh, and also before I forget, turn your control lock off. So that'll also be on your pedestal. You can think of this like right by your right butt cheek.
Yep.
Like a little T handle.
Right. Control lock off.
And there you go. So now your flight controls, you can check that. So you can look for left roll, right roll. You'll see it on the EIS there.
I do see
the ailerons. If you fully extend the speed brakes, you should see 5 panels on each wing.
Yep.
And then if you roll again into either side, you should basically see 3 of those panels go away. So you're checking for that. And then you can slow the speed brakes.
Interesting.
And now we can start taxiing. So yeah, when you fully extend the speed brakes, that's actually your ground spoilers. There's kind of like a flight detent, essentially, that's like maybe 90% of the speed brake handle. And then you pull it past a stop, and that activates your ground spoilers. So you're fully deploying them. I think it's like up to 60 degrees deflection, essentially. And you'll use that when you land.
Let's see, we're cruising at 47,000. Is that an okay altitude?
Is
that too high? Too
yeah.
low?
What are we? What's our weight? I forgot what we were doing. I think we were like 24,000 pounds. I'm not sure if we're too heavy. I know we have like 9 passengers, but we're also light on gas.
that show on this screen, or do I need to go somewhere else for that?
So you can go to see your current weight. If you go to home, and then perf, and then weight and fuel, and then the takeoff page, you can see what your current
zero fuel weight or aircraft weight 24,876.
24. Yeah, so you'll be able to do it. I'm not sure. Hopefully it's not too hot up there. But
I have a baggage heat fail cast message.
Yeah, so this is one of the bugs that A330 driver has. This indicates that one of the baggage heat valve is open on the ground, because usually it'll close on the ground. But in this case, it's open. Once we go in the air, it's going to go away essentially. And what I kind of want to see you do, real quick.
Go ahead.
If you look at one of your circuit breakers on the left-hand side, on the bottom right, you'll see landing gear controller 1.
Landing gear controller 1.
It's going to be on the far right side.
Oh, far right side.
Left.
Sorry.
Yeah,
yep,
it's basically bottom right. Yeah, pull that, and then push it back in.
Yep, I got a cast message for that.
See what happened to that. Then try and do it on the right side. There's also another landing gear controller. I'm just curious if it will reset itself.
Controller 2?
Yep.
Did it cycle it?
Yeah.
Oh, it went away.
Yeah. So, honestly, it's honestly cool and also weird to kind of see that simulated. So we also had an issue where our pressurization controller may fail on spawn, but as I think some pilots would do in real life, they would just, if they get a cast message like that, they'll just turn the airplane off and turn it back on.
Really?
And when we had that happen in the sim, I would do the same thing, and it would basically restart, and it would work properly. So, and it's honestly not something we scripted to do, but it's cool that you can kind of see that it is possible to essentially reset a system and get it to work again. So I haven't tried this for the baggage heat. I think it would have been cool to demo that with A330 driver, but it fixed itself anyways. But yeah, that was cool to see. Alright, now we can continue.
Alright, we'll taxi out. I just set my my barometric pressure and my altitude and all that. I'm not using any ATC today, so we're just gonna kind of set everything as is, or as we need to. We're taking off from a 09er, which is in this direction. I'll get my map on the left screen and get it zoomed in. Maybe. Come on. The click spot is so tiny.
I'm not sure. I don't use the legacy mode much, but you may be able to use your scroll wheel. Can you try that?
I am using my scroll wheel.
Oh, you're still missing it?
Yeah, it's just because I'm using track IR and there's movement happening.
A little bit sensitive.
There we go.
Alright, yeah, that looks good. So, I mean, our no takeoff looks good. Everything is okay, which we like to see. And then we'll hold short of the runway. I'll kind of show you what I like to do in terms of my my screen setup. And then we can get going. We'll also set up our FMA, so get our flight directors and whatnot, our togo. I'll go into, we don't have to play with that in the air. Oh, that Predator is in the dirt.
Yeah, it is. Alright, my flight controls are working, so that's good. We're on idle right now, so we're going pretty quick on idle. Is that pretty normal?
Yeah, so we never really measured it, but typically you will find some biz jets basically move under idle thrust. So you'll find them in real life. They'll taxi with one thrust reverser open, and that would be nice to do in the sim, but unfortunately Solo has somehow managed to find a way to actually make your airplane produce forward thrust even with thrust reversed up to 20%. So unless you apply at least 30-40% of reverse thrust, it wouldn't be able to do much. So you kind of just have to stick with riding the brakes for a little bit, and whatnot.
All right, we're holding short runway 9er, and you mentioned some things. Do I need to press toga? I know there's an auto throttle in this aircraft. How does that work? How do we get that activated?
So the auto throttle, it's not going to be on the autopilot controller like many people would expect it to. It's going to be on the quadrant itself, like the thrust levers. Basically, it's a little black button on the arm of the throttle.
On the back?
You'll see AT. Yep. Kind of towards you on your side.
Yeah.
So the rule of thumb is usually you want to engage this when you're lined up on the runway.
Okay.
So you'll line up, confirm that you're on runway. I think it's going to be 9 today.
Yeah.
9. So we'll see 9. We want to make sure it's on our HSI. We see it on the pavement in front of us. We'll hit the AT button. You'll see a white TO on the FMA on the far left side. That basically says that, hey, your auto throttle is armed, and it will engage the takeoff servo. We'll also turn on our lights, like you got there. And then we'll also hit toga on the side of the thrust levers. So you'll see takeoff.
You press that before auto throttle, or?
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. You could do it either or. Actually, I mean, typically I would do it when we're parked, kind of before engine start. I would get my FMA set up, but I mentioned that.
So you can press toga like even before engine start. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you can. You can set up basically your flight director. So you'll hit toga. Since we're on a RNAV departure, we can also hit nav.
All right.
And then honestly, probably not going to worry about any altitude constraints, so we'll keep VNAV off. And we'll also turn our pitot static on. So it's going to be kind of by your landing gear handle.
Landing gear. Where is the landing gear? Oh, it's
over there. On the FO side.
Okay. I think I have a view for
and
that.
Then,
maybe not. Yeah. There we go. Windshield heat? Or no? Windshield fan?
No, you don't. No, windshield fan, no, don't need that. Windshield heat is basically already on as soon as you start the engines.
Okay.
And you're not using what's called the transformer rectifier units. It's kind of only used in emergency scenarios. In terms of screen setup, what I would like you to do, this might work better, is on the right GTC, which could be your magenta pane, go to home and then put the map on there. And then press full on the bottom, so we'll full screen that since we don't really need the synoptic up. And then on the left hand side, kind of on your personal GTC on the left, we're going to split screen our PFD, and then we're going to put another map over there. Or typically you might want to put up a chart
on the
or maybe a
PFD.
checklist on the PFD. So yeah, you'll split screen that and then put something over there.
Which would be this one over here, right?
Yeah, so there's another GTC.
Screen. And then you want the map on, I guess you use the right side, left side?
So it's going to be on the left GTC. You'll basically kick that over using the joystick to the left. So not on the far left GTC, it's going to be the one in the middle.
Oh, not the far left one.
Yeah, so the way the GTCs work in terms of display selection is, if you look at the bottom of the GTC, you'll see it says pane.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a color associated with that pane. So on the far left of the knob, far left knob is essentially a joystick, and you can move that to select a pane on either the PFD or MFD. So if you find the click spot to the left, you'll see the pane, maybe. Let me see if I can catch up with the stream.
I'm clicking it.
Can you try and put the right side to the left, maybe?
But the right screen?
Yeah, the right screen. There you go. So,
yeah, now I see pane. Now I see pane.
Okay, so alright, so yeah, let's move. Yeah, there you go. That's fine. Alright, so in this case,
so I see this is pane. Purple here.
Yeah, so
and then
purple is going to be
associated
with the right.
Here.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So, I mean, in real life, this technically wouldn't be possible. Working tunnel haven't really prevented you from doing that. But in cruise, we can probably swap those over. But this is what you would do. You can have your checklist or charts, whatever, or you just keep the map up. And then now we can basically get set up to go here. So we'll just arm our takeoff for our auto throttle.
All right, so we've already armed the toga. We can arm the auto throttle now by clicking auto throttle. Okay.
Yep, so now we should see takeoff on the FMA, and then all it is, I don't think we have brakes engaged, so now we just go bring the thrust levers up. The takeoff servos will kick in about 80% throttle, and then we'll take over and push them to the stops. You should see hold, and then we'll just do what we do. V1, rotate.
All right, I see hold, throttle hold.
There we go. Make sure our power set.
Airspeed's flat.
Be on the green carrots.
80 knots. Rotate. Oh, she's smooth coming up. You're up.
Yes, sir. And then typically we like to do once you hit 400 feet, flaps up, yaw damper.
Flaps up. Yaw damper.
And then you kind of want to quickly select a pitch mode, so either vertical speed or flight level change.
I'll take
Get out of
flight level
take
change.
thrust. Yeah, and then just follow the departure.
Trim down.
Now you're out of the terminal area, then let's hover to 250. And I mean, if you want, you could also throw in a new direct to whatever fix you're going to now, just to kind of get a nice clean line. Some people might laugh at that, but
No.
maybe yeah, you don't want to chase it, or you can just drop in a new direct. It doesn't really matter.
What's next? Moody. We go direct Moody.
Yeah, there you go. And then we go now.
And turn the sound down. It is pretty loud out there. Is there any like headphone simulation back here?
Yeah, there is actually. It's going
test
to be
that,
kind of over your left shoulder.
Yep, there it is. That's so cool. All right, cool. So we're climbing out. We're past 11,000 now. Do a few of our things here on the top side.
Yeah, so most of the lights can come off, but also hit the pack safety, which...
Pack safety, all right. What is that actually? I've seen it in a few business jets. What is that?
So, if you have your EMR lights into ARM, which we do, right? And that's basically one of the first things we do when we get in the airplane. And you turn the pack safety on, it turns on the emergency lighting for the airplane. So that's why you'll have the pack safety on below 10,000. Is essentially so you'll have that emergency lighting just in case. And it's going to be the same lights that we saw essentially when we walked in the airplane for the first time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and once you turn the pack safety off, it'll turn the emergency lights off. Sometimes it can get a little bit bright back there, especially at night. You turn pack safety on and the whole thing lights up. Like, whoa.
I'm sure. Let's see if we can get a flyby real quick. Is it this button? Man, she's quick.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of climbing, she is pretty up there. I did just learn the other day that this thing is like top 7 in terms of business jets with like the most thrust to weight ratio.
Really?
And it's just behind the longitude. I honestly thought it was a lot lower, But no, I think it's in terms of like climb performance, it does a nice job.
So I'm going standard on the left side, standard on the right side. Is there a way to have a barrel sync? Is that an option in the EFB to sync the?
So I have seen some people suggest that for the Phenom. We might still implement it, though. I know that in the real G3000, at least for the Phenom, there is a barrel sync, at least for the PFDs. I'm not sure if it is on the Sovereign, so I'll probably consult one of our pilots. But honestly, as a convenience thing, it might be something we can implement as long as there's no crazy hack or workaround to do it.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for the Phenom. Even in real life, I don't know if it has it in real life. You're saying it does.
It does.
But yeah. I feel like it makes sense because it's a single pilot aircraft. Like, to
exactly.
have to reach over and do it 3 times just doesn't make sense for a single pilot to do. So I was like, there's got to be a way. But yeah, I mean, I think as for a flight sim, it's just a nice convenience where like you can just hit it one time here, and I have to go all like I just did. We'll go way over here and have to do it there and do it there and do it there. So it's nice that way. So can I hit VNav now? Is that something I could do at this point, or should I leave it in?
I mean, you can hit it. Honestly, it's not going to do anything in this case because VNav in Garmin land isn't really like your VNav in, say, Boeing land. It's not actually a climb mode. You can think of it as just like a climb modifier or like follower. So it's just going to follow, essentially, and strictly only follow altitude restrictions on, departure, arrival procedure, whatever you have set.
Okay.
Because even like in your Boeing, if you press VNav, your speed window closes, like it's blank. So it's like your managed speed essentially. But in Garmin, they split that. So you have FMS speed and man speed on the knob, and then you have VNav for climb and descent and approach or whatever. So those are all split up. And there's been plenty of times. I remember when the G3000 first came out, people would press VNav and wonder why it's not climbing, and it's because they don't have vertical speed or flight level change engaged.
So VNav is really only used for descent in Garmin speak.
Yeah,
really.
Descent, or if you have maybe like an altitude restriction, say for example you're flying out of Teterboro, there's a 1,500 foot restriction you have to meet, or else you're going to start flying into someone that's going into Newark right above you. You can basically set that and it'll make sure to level off at 1,500 or 2,000, whatever the constraint may be. So you can use it in climb or descent. But at this point, we don't need it since we're basically outside of the departure area. Yep. We're just going en route. And we can see that we have alt on our FMA, so that just means we're going to get altitude capture at our selected altitude, which is 47,000 feet. If it said alt V, right, that means it's going to capture a VNav altitude, and you'll typically see the VNav altitude in magenta right next to where you have your altitude selected. So to the right of 47,000 feet, you might see, like, for example, 5,000 or something like that. And that's where the airplane is going to level off or do whatever to meet that restriction.
Man, what a beautiful plane. What a beautiful plane with a beautiful backdrop. If you guys are just joining us, we are flying the Cessna Citation Sovereign. We have a special guest, John, riding with us and kind of coaching us along. He is one of the main developers on the project. You guys don't have a release date, right? There's no release date public.
We have like days in mind. We just don't want to kind of take up the liability if we say something and all of a sudden something happens last minute.
Okay.
But we do have it's pretty soon. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
And I think so far everything's going well.
Yeah, I had to ask.
I
it's
think
been
we'll
asked in chat multiple times. So I just want to kind of get that out of the way.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. But yeah, we'll give a heads up too, right? At least 24 hours before release, maybe even longer, like 48, 72. And yeah, everyone will find out pricing and all that, and I think it's going to be reasonably priced, and yeah, hopefully everybody enjoys it. It's just like a smooth release.
So we're talking release on your website, on Marketplace. Orbix.
So it'll be Marketplace and Orbix. There is a chance that we may do Marketplace initially. We still actually haven't decided that internally. I think we are leaning towards both releasing at the same time, but it will definitely be on both platforms.
Mm-hmm. Very loud on the exterior. I'm not complaining. I'm just turning it down so we can hear you talking.
No problem.
It usually feels just me. I'd have it blaring. For me,
Even I know in
loud
the
sound.
I don't know what you have in the EFB, but we do have a setting where you can modify the exterior volume.
I haven't changed it, so it's whatever default is.
Yeah, it might be. I think it's 50%. And I think on the walk around we have it set to 100, so it's basically like what you would expect to hear in real life, as if you were walking around the airplane.
So if I go like 10% and then go outside, yeah, that's much quieter already. I can tell.
Yeah.
I think I want to set that to like 5. And then I don't have to do it myself manually. I've been manually doing it on my audio program over here. Cool. I do like that.
Doing the sim volume?
What did you say?
They're doing changing the sim volume?
Yeah, I've been changing the same sim volume myself. I can also change the active noise cancellation to always, so I get it when I go back here as well. I noticed when I went back in the cabin, I lost the noise cancellation.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the cable doesn't reach that far.
Yeah. Cool, so we are climbing out, already passing 36,000 feet. Our cruise level is going to be 47,000. Is that a typical cruise altitude? Like, I know it's based on your weight and stuff like that, but like, where do you typically cruise on a 2-hour, 3-hour, 6-hour flight in the Sovereign?
So the airplane is known to be like a flight level 430 bird.
Okay.
Is what our testers said. But anywhere from like 40, 41, 43, and even 45. It'll get up to 45 at max takeoff weight as well. So you can go straight up there if you wanted to. And then once you burn off like 2,000-3,000 pounds of gas is when you can go up to 47,000 feet. The problem with 47,000 feet is, you're above everybody, so it might be, helpful if the weather isn't that high, but you're also going pretty slow. So I'm expecting, I would have to look at the books, but we're probably going to be doing low to mid 0.7s when we get up to cruise.
Okay.
And it also depends on, temperature and weight and whatnot. But yeah, 43, 40, 41, that's your sweet spot. If you want to keep doing like, if you want to like almost do 0.8 everywhere, you can be in the high 30s.
Okay. So it's more efficient to cruise around the 43, maybe even 40,
it's a good balance between, not being super slow or anything and also saving some gas.
Can we cross the Atlantic in this aircraft?
I have done it in cross the pond. You're not going to be able to do like a super long transatlantic. I think the longest flight I've done in this thing was somewhere from Japan to Alaska, which was about 9 to 10 hours. And in fact, it was a flight. The only reason why I did that flight was because one of our testers, their friend who flew the Sovereign, also did that flight in real life.
A 9 to 10 hour flight in this plane.
Yeah. Now I can't say they were going fast at all. They just put it into long range cruise. So long range cruise will typically have you in the 0.6 to 0.7 range. But it does allow you to pretty much stretch its legs.
And that's a setting, like right? In the Garmin, the cruise
so we have and a nice thing is that in the real airplane, and we also replicated this in the sim airplane, is that the airplane will automatically bug, like basically set your FMS speed to what it think it can do, at least for maximum cruise, right? So if you're at cruise and all of a sudden you see like 0.757, it might be some like weird number. That is essentially what the airplane thinks it can do given the weight that you inserted. into the GTC, and the temperature and altitude. And then there's also an option for long range cruise, which will dynamically reduce your speed as you burn off gas.
And that's all
so you can essentially
automatic. There's no, you don't have to go and manually set max cruise.
Yeah, all you have to do is set the profile in VNav. So you'll do that in the flight plan page, VNav, and then cruise. And then where it says cruise profile, you'll have an option for
I see maximum cruise, long range cruise, pilot defined cruise. Right now we're in maximum cruise, obviously for a short flight. But okay, and then when you do that, that then changes on the PFD that magenta speed and target speed that it goes for to try to extend the range of the aircraft. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep.
That's good to know. Yeah, the longest flight that I have done through the testing phase has been from Florida to California. So transcon.
That's a good transcon. Yeah.
It's like 6.5 hours. That's like almost 6-ish hours. I want to stretch the legs. You know what I mean? I want to stretch the legs of it and see what was up. But that's the longest flight that I have personally did. But I didn't know you could get that far. 9 to 10 hours in this thing. That's crazy.
No, I mean, if you get up high early and do long range cruise, it'll do it. I forgot how many passengers I had on that sim flight, but you obviously wouldn't be able to carry much since you had to basically top it off with all the gas that you can.
Right. So tell me, so you're the guy that has done most of the work on the flight model for this aircraft. Tell me about how that came about. What were some of your struggles with getting the flight model kind of tuned to its current state? Are you happy with where it's at? Are you still trying to, fine tune it? Like where we at on the flight model?
So flight model, I'll say when I first joined the project, I wasn't even expecting to do like any of the engines or the flight model or even the systems. Frankly, I had only touched avionics before, and I know Garmin, so Garmin is kind of my bread and butter. But I think it got to a point where I did start getting into the FADEC and whatnot, and that did require me to essentially tune the airplane to what the performance manual said that it can do, right? So, if you have a properly working FADEC, but you're not reaching the speeds or the fuel flow that the real performance manual says that you should, then that's where I kind of have to go into the engines and the flight model and tune those in so many different ways, and it's just do a ton of testing. Like hours and hours. And this process takes days, weeks, months to get it all fine tuned. But in terms of the flight model itself, the one thing I really wanted to focus on was just the overall feel of hand flying the airplane, and then its landing behavior. So early on in testing, I kind of noticed that it wasn't really flying the way I felt like it should. Kind of felt a little too sensitive. Didn't feel like the heavy citation that everybody always talks about in terms of like roll and whatnot. Yeah. And our testers would always say, the Sovereign was probably one of the best hand flying jets they've ever flown, and they've flown a number of jets, but this was like the one that really stuck out to them. So it was important for me to model that. And there was a few struggles with especially the steering on the ground. This was a bad one. It would you couldn't turn if you were super light because there was no weight on the nose wheel. That took a really long time to figure out. Fortunately, it's funny how I got the idea of fixing it. I was essentially in another testing team for another dev, very popular dev, and they basically pushed out a new build that adjusted the flight model kind of on the ground and in the air, and it had to do with inertia. So I hit the books on the documentation for the flight model, and I started reading up on the inertia parameter and whatnot, and what I can do to kind of just play with it, maybe see if it would change anything. And then almost immediately I saw results, and the airplane started taxiing like, you know, a real airplane. And I wasn't over there trying to turn the airplane, and then it would take, you know, 5 years to basically rotate. So that was one thing that we had in the beta for a whole while that was really nice to finally get fixed. The other issue was kind of just like the ground effect, and obviously the hand flying. Sovereign is known to be really stiff and roll, so you'll notice it kind of has like a really slow roll rate. Pitch not so much, but that overall kind of helped, you know, make hand flying the airplane easier. The sim just wasn't there yet, so what I did was I just took my cheap $60 joystick, put it on linear settings. I do have a Honeycomb Alpha. I'll be honest, I haven't touched that thing in years. At least, you know. Yeah, I know. It's just mounting it was always a problem, especially if you have to use your keyboard a lot.
Yeah.
To kind of mess around with the flight model. So I just stick with my joystick, and it was a nice test because it's like you don't have super expensive hardware. This is probably what most people would probably be using.
Yeah.
Something cheap, not, you know, lightweight. I even put it on a linear sensitivity, and I tuned the flight model to that. So realistically, if you have any hardware that's better, it should feel just as good, if not better, right? And it's funny, just recently, maybe I think like last week or 2 weeks ago, I did my first lap in the pattern with an Xbox controller, and it was really nice. I didn't have to do any tuning at all. Like, I was actually surprised at how nice the airplane flew with just a controller. So I was pretty happy when I saw that. And I think honestly I'm going to start using the controller a lot more just because it's just more convenient.
Wow.
Yeah, it just takes up less space. I can always just put it, you know, right next to me. I don't have to move my throttle or joystick. And yeah, I mean, I can get just as much done with it. I still gotta get used to the controls, but it's been really nice with that. And of course, everything was always, you know, tested with pilots and, you know, all the other testers, both simmers and, you know, real pilots who didn't even fly the Sovereign, but, you know, had experience in jets and whatnot.
That's what I was going to ask, was about, like,
yeah,
you guys got any help from real world pilots?
Like, I do fly in real life, but I don't fly a jet. I just fly, you know, your regular Piper Cherokee, Diamond, RV, whatever. These are completely different airplanes. They don't fly the same way at all, right? So I needed opinions from people that I know who have, you know, thousands of hours in this airplane. And I would send them, you know, new builds of the flight model every few hours, especially in like the few weeks that I kind of wanted to really, I basically spent a few weeks just focusing on the flight model only before I moved on to anything else. So, and we eventually got to a point where everybody started saying, yeah, this is better, this is really good. And now we've added a few more people to the team, and they're like, who did the flight model? I'm like, that's me. And they're like, you did a really good job. And it is nice to see that it's progressed nicely, and people are like receiving the feedback well. I think there's always, you know, room to improve. I'm expecting, you know, maybe someone will mention the rudder possibly being too sensitive at low speeds, like when taxiing. That's something I'm already investigating and trying to see if I can fix without ruining the steering. But I'm always open to feedback. You know, I think it's important to just be open-minded and take criticism and just improve. You know, it's not like it's not like me or anyone else kind of just wants to think, oh, you know, this is good enough, right? You know, if a loud majority of people are saying, hey, this needs to get sorted, it could definitely be better, then it's something I'm worth, you know, I think it's worth looking into and trying to get fixed.
And this is your first flight model, yeah, for an aircraft?
Yeah, I mean, this is a first for everything, essentially. Honestly, this is first big real project, first like actual flight sim development project, and not just me, but for everybody else on the team, except for, I guess, Boris. You know,
so Boris is the most. He's the one with the most experience.
Essentially, yeah, and everybody else is kind of just, you know, learning as they go along. So I guess that also, is the reason why, people may think the Sovereign took so long, but, you know, it's not like we already knew everything like the back of our hand. We've gone over this already, but
Well, here's the
for
thing
future
too.
projects.
Yeah, I was gonna say here's the thing too is like this is not your only gig, right? Like all you guys, from what you guys told me on the team, like this Sovereign project is a side project for all of you, right? Like it's
Yeah,
you're all like
yeah, it
in
is literally
school and learning in university things like that for your career, and this is like a side thing. So I did want to ask this one question, kind of like if you can quickly go through it, like what like how did you get started? Because like you're self taught. It sounds like for the most part. Like
right.
when did it hit you? Like yo, I'm gonna start developing aircraft. I know you didn't start with the Sovereign. You've done some other projects in the past before this that were much smaller. But like, it's when did it hit you that hey, I can modify or create my own aircraft in Flight Simulator?
So I've always been kind of into like the developing and just coding thing for a few years now. I didn't really start to take it mostly seriously until maybe like 2 to 3 years ago,
Hmm.
where I kind of started to learn HTML, kind of like the stuff that you would basically building websites, right?
Yeah,
Because essentially, at the end of the day, what you're seeing in the sim are just really advanced websites.
that's
This is basically what it is.
crazy
It's
to say
really
that.
advanced. It's just, yeah, those screens are, you can think of them as browsers. And the avionics are literally just web pages.
That's
Um,
I'm sorry, like
yeah,
because web is something that I do for a living. To just think that I would, it's we're just looking at three websites in front of
pretty
me
much.
is crazy to think about that from that perspective. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead
No,
and
no, no, no.
continue.
But yeah,
That
no,
comment just blew my mind.
it's
I'm
essentially what
sorry.
it is. To put it bluntly, but yeah, I mean, I started, dabbling with JavaScript and HTML and CSS to kind of get my feet wet, right? So I built my own app for parsing navigation data for the sim.
Hmm.
So mostly explain navigate. I'm a huge, I guess you could say, nerd when it comes to anything avionics. So in real life, I have a ton of experience with some of the Garmin units, like the G1000, the GTNs, and whatnot. And I find it pretty fascinating how complex these things are,
Hmm.
underneath the hood. But I also appreciate how intuitive and easy it is for someone to just use Garmin. At least as a pilot, I think it is sometimes the one of the most misunderstood avionics suites, just because it's so complex, but it's so easy to just use that you often don't even know what you're doing half the time because it makes it easy. It makes your life easy, right?
Hmm.
Um, so, and I would be obsessed over how an airplane kind of flies a flight plan essentially. How it flies really complex departure procedures or approaches that um, the FMS may not handle as well. So I would
Yeah.
test this a ton in the sim. It was kind of my thing that I would do in the Challenger and the Phoenix and other airplanes to kind of see who did the best job. Um, and then at a point I've gotten into developing kind of just plugins for the G5000,
Hmm.
just like for my own personal use. I mean, it's nothing that I wanted to sell to anybody. For example, um, the Spotify plugin. I don't know if I mentioned this to you
You
before, but
have not. Wait, you made a Spotify plugin?
yeah. So
Please explain.
actually, one of the one of my good friends, who I think is also watching the stream, actually just sent me a picture.
Is that on Flight Sim TO? Like, where can somebody get this Spotify plugin?
Um, Unfortunately, I wish I could share it, but Spotify, you can ignore the the song name there. But um, that's what it looks like in the Garmin. Basically, hooks up to your Spotify, and you can control it from the sim, which I found really cool.
That is
I
cool.
would love to share it, but the Spotify only
Licensing.
lets me, yeah,
Yeah.
licensing, and also Spotify only lets me give the application to 5 users.
Oh.
So it's not like I could really even give it to anyone, apart from 4 to 5 other people. But that was like one of my first projects that I wanted to do. You should go into the airplane right now.
Okay.
Go to your GTC.
Uh-huh.
The other thing I really wanted to get in the Garmin units was the trip stats page. So that's gonna be under utilities.
All right. Yep. Utilities.
And then trip stats
Trip
or
stats.
yeah. So this was a feature that Working Title didn't implement, but it's something that almost all pilots use when they, finish a flight. You can see your flight time, your departure time, your distance. If you scroll down, you'll also see like your fuel used, stuff like your wind speeds and ground speeds. So it was a nice like little side project that I learned. I basically learned how to format a small little page like that,
Mm-hmm.
take data, and present it in a way. And this was something I used all the time in the sim, right? So, and now it's made its way into the sovereign. So I guess the ROI was there. Nice to see.
I don't know
And
if this
then,
question is for me or for you, but it says, "Do you never sleep?" From Nico.
uh, I mean, if it's for you, you can answer that. But I will say I did. Unfortunately, I did actually only get 2 hours of sleep yesterday. It was like the first time I've done that. So it's kind of just because getting close to release, so you really want to make sure everything is nice and tidy. But
Yeah. I don't know. From what I heard, you are definitely a worker. Like you will work all night, late night, crazy hours. From what I've heard, I'm
yeah,
not sure how
it's
true that is.
sometimes I do look at like my screen time on some days where like I really need to get something out. And I'm like, oof, all right, I need to step away for a while,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's important. There have been times over the past year where I've just taken a break. 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe,
Hmm.
just because when you're learning all this stuff, you're not gonna get anything right on the first try.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trial and error, and it's best to step away. I think that's one thing you got to learn as if you want to do software development and whatnot. It's you got to learn how to handle just obstacles. You know, sometimes
Problem solving.
staring at a screen, yeah, solving on a screen for 12 or staring at a screen for 12 hours is not going to get you the answer all the time.
Mm.
You know, step away, go outside, go out with friends, family, come back with a fresh set of eyes, right? And then most of the time it does end up working. Um, you're not exhausted, and you can actually kind of digest what you're seeing, and you know plan better, essentially. I think that's helped a lot, and other people on the team did the same thing as well. We also, like you said, this is just a side project. This is like something we do in our free time. I'm still a college student, and at the time I was working on the Sovereign for the most part. I was a commercial student. Fortunately, I'm done with that now. Next step is CFI, so that'll definitely take a bit of my time. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's just there was no reason to like get this thing out. There's no deadline to meet, right? It was kind of just release it when we think it's sufficient enough for most people. Me as a perfectionist, I think it'll never be perfect in my eyes. There's always something to do with the airplane, right? There's always something to fix, maybe add. And I think we'll probably see then updates between me and Lucas and other people on the team. I'm sure boards might do something.
Mm.
So it's simply the beginning, and the more we improve this and basically make this airplane better, the higher the next project will be in terms of its like foundation, essentially. So, want to maximize that as much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you guys coming up next, but I'm very impressed by this plane. I enjoy flying it. I think it looks good. I've given you guys my feedback on the things that I think you can improve already. You guys already know that. You're already aware of all those things, and you're working on them. But yeah, I'm excited to have another dev team in the mix who are giving us things to this quality or aircraft, at least business jets. I don't know if you guys are gonna continue with the business jet or go with turboprops, or try to get even into airliners. Like, I'm not sure what the ambitions throughout the company is with that, but either way, you guys are definitely bringing it, and I think this is a really good showing for your first project on the flight sim market. So looking forward to that for sure. Really am. I was just kind of looking through my flight plan because I don't have a time to top of descent coming up at the moment.
Yeah, so we could sort that real quick, and I can kind of give an explanation on why you're not seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go through. If we go through our flight plan, we obviously have the arrival loaded. You got to guess? I mean, I'll let you guess. Then
my guess is this right here.
Let's see if I can.
This approach that I loaded in.
Yeah, so what's special about that?
Before in the G3/5000, where it didn't give me a bottom of the descent or top of the descent because of, I don't know how to explain what it did, but like I was able to fix it. Like, for example, I had a Moxie here and a Moxie here.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a problem, I think.
So the approach you loaded is a vectors to final approach, right?
Oh, right.
In a traditional FMS, you may just notice this as like a discontinuity, essentially. Mm-hmm. Because what the airplane is going to do is it's going to fly to a Moxie there, right after D253M.
Uh-huh.
And then it's just going to fly straight after that. It's not going to go anywhere else because you loaded a vectors to final approach. So the airplane is expecting that you will get vectored to join the ILS for runway 7 or whatnot, right? And the reason why you're not getting a VNAV profile is because the next altitude constraint, I like to call it and this is what Garmin calls it, is a 4-use altitude constraint. So you have a white constraint, which is essentially what you see there on your flight plan right now. So like the 8879 feet, the 4160, 3580, those are your advisory altitudes. So the VNAV does not care about your advisory. It cares about your blue or like cyan altitudes, and those are referred to as 4-use.
Right, like this one in Napa down there.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah, exactly. So you have the 1850. So that is a 4-use constraint. But because now we are on a vectors to final approach, essentially there is you can think of it like a wall, or just again like a disconnect between your airplane and a Napa. So easiest way to solve this, you have a few options. You can load a altitude constraint at Omoxie. You could say maybe like 3,000, 4,000. You can hard set that in. Or you could switch the approach to maybe one with a transition, if it has one. So then you get rid of that vectors to final. Or maybe in some arrivals, an arrival may like just throw you off on a heading, and that's it.
Yeah.
It'll end up in like a discontinuity, or like in Garmin it would be a man-seek, like a manual sequence.
Yeah, manual sequence.
It's essentially the same thing, right? So those are your two options.
I think in the past I usually have hard set a bottom altitude at that Amoxie.
Yeah, so you could do that. Something reasonable, 3,000. Especially if it's going to be close to the approach. Don't leave yourself too high, and obviously you don't want to bust any altitudes. Like you don't want to be below what the minimum altitude may be on the ILS. But yeah, 3,500. We can set that.
Yep, and there it is.
Make sure it's in decent. And there you go.
17 minutes. And I can change that target. How do I do that? Like
so
VNAV?
To change so you can do it two ways. You can do it through the flight plan page there, where it says 3 degrees, or you can go through VNAV, but it looks like it's grayed out for you. So I honestly don't know when the FPA changes to let you enable it on the VNAV page, but if you go back to your flight plan list, and at Amoxie, you should see 3 degrees on the right hand side.
On the right,
basically to the right of your altitude constraint, you'll see
I see 3
negative 3. If you press that, You can reduce that target. What most people like to do in real life, just to make it a nice, smoother, shallower descent, they'll put it to like 2.5. 2.5, 2.75. It'll make everything just feel a little bit more natural, more comfortable. And it'll also be easier on the auto throttle as well when you start your descent, especially if you're cruising at like 0.8, 0.79.
Yeah.
The descent speed in this thing, at least by default, is 0.78. So you're already faster than what you're going to be descending at. And if you have a steep initial descent, the auto throttle may not be reactive enough to pull the power back and prevent you from overspeeding.
Right.
So that's what I would like to do. Is now, unfortunately, you would have to set that 2.5 every time for your first constraint in the working title version. There is no way to set like a default. It's something I would like them to do, but they just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah. I guess, let's just take this chance to talk about the G5000. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but Working Title has made a pretty darn good rendition of the G3000 in Microsoft Flight Sim by default. And you guys and other development teams are building on top of that. Am I right by saying that?
Correct.
So, like, what are like some spotlights, or can you say that you guys have done to kind of extend the feature set of what Working Title already have done, or like what makes your version special?
So, I think, in my opinion, if you're going to make a custom airplane like this and whatnot, the bare minimum to me is your engine instruments, your synoptics. Okay, I mean, obviously all of the pages that come with the airplane. So, for example, the cabin management page, or the temperature page, or your what else? The propulsion. Those are all things that these are airframe specific, or even like the system test. Like that's a big one, right? Because you do that every single flight, and it's what you would do in real life. So that to me is the bare minimum of what I kind of want to expect to see in a G3000 airplane or G5000 airplane, whatever it is, depending on the part. In terms of additional functionality on top of that, like the bonuses, I would consider. I think obviously it has to be like the ACARs and the CPDLC. You don't really find this in a lot of business jets in the sim. The only one you can really find it in that's done really well is like the Hot Start Challenger. It has a really good CPDLC simulation. It works flawlessly on Pilot Edge and VADSIM and whatnot. And we kind of wanted to do the same thing for the Sovereign. And it's nice because now we can actually just reuse this essentially.
Yeah.
In other projects, because the CPDLC isn't really specific to the Sovereign. It's just what Garmin has made for all airplanes that can do data link. So that was a big one, and we've implemented most of the things that it can do in real life. There are a few like really cool things that the real Garmin can do with CPDLC. For example, if you get like a frequency change message by a controller, the real unit can actually load that frequency for you, or maybe like they say direct COTEL on your flight plan. You'll see that message, and the G5000 will say, "Hey, do you want to go direct to COTEL?"
Oh, that's cool.
Activate that. Yeah,
that's cool.
That is probably like the one thing we're missing. It is something we wanted to do, but we just haven't gotten to that yet. I think we'll probably still be able to do it at some point in the future. But in terms of like all your messaging capabilities, it's basically there, right?
Yeah, I wish, we were in a position to kind of show off the CPDLC stuff, but I'm not on VATSIM, and I am using, say, intentions. Actually, I think I have it turned off, but I don't have it set up for that at the moment. But just know, if you're listening, you're watching, that it does have CPDLC support for, say, intentions, VATSIM, Hoppy, and Beyond ATC as well. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah. That's
so you'll be able to use that.
Pretty cool.
And
loving seeing that implemented in more aircraft.
Yeah, for me, I like to fly on VATSIM a lot, right? I've kind of started flying in Europe a lot more, just because of CPDLC, and also it's like a nice change of pace of scenery. I feel like I've flown to most of the places that I really want to see in the U.S. And I think going to places like Europe where they do actually use CPDLC on VATSIM, and just you get to experience new scenery and whatnot. I think that's something I really enjoy. So I've been using it a lot. It's been really nice.
So CPDLC is more commonly used in Europe. Is that right?
In terms of like VATSIM and whatnot, like in flight sim, yes, but in real life, the U.S. has adopted it. You'll use it over the ocean. In Europe, it's also very common. It's essentially like a global thing for the most part. So it's just unfortunately VAT USA, at least, they haven't really adopted it.
Yeah.
They're kind of waiting on a standard protocol to come in. They don't want to use Hoppy. They want something that's actually built for CPDLC. This Hoppy is more of a free text messaging service, which does allow you to kind of emulate a CPDLC protocol, but it's not entirely like one-to-one accurate to how it would work in real life. So that's why you'll see I can, if you had your Hoppy code in right now, I can be in the sim and I can just send you like a random message, essentially.
That's cool.
But if something does come up in the future where a standard protocol gets adopted and basically all of the networks use it, it's gonna be a win-win for everybody, because now it can basically be used anywhere. I don't think networks will have an issue implementing it, and it's gonna work exactly how it should in the real world. So it's all standardized and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were using a different system out there than they are in the US. I thought everybody was already on the same unified system. Didn't realize it was different systems going on.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be good. Have everybody unified on the same, technology. I think would be very important for that. But yeah, so cool. You have the CPDLC functionality that you guys have manually built into the Garmin. You have the normal, I should say normal, but you got like the special aircraft specific stuff, which actually I want to go into really quickly before we get to our top of descent. We're about 4 minutes out. This would be a good time, right, to kind of hit VNAV, no? And
oh yeah, you can go ahead and hit VNAV, and then you can just lower your pre-selector down to was it 3500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we don't miss our top of descent here today. So all right, that's close enough. But I want to kind of show off a bit of the. Let's see, where was that? I was under utilities, and then nope, not trip stats. What was that? Where were we just at? Perf, aircraft system.
You looking for synoptics?
Yeah, the cabin management stuff.
Oh yes.
So I see a few things in here that are pretty cool. So we got the shades, which we can open and close right from up here. Can I also control that from the cabin as well?
Yes. So each passenger controller, if I remember correctly, they have basically 3 of the nearest shades that they can control. In the shades page. And then
down here too.
And the one in the avionics is basically like a control all. You open all or you close all shades, but for each controller you can basically lift or lower a specific shade or just the nearest 3.
Nice. So the passenger can control it, but also the pilot can control it should he need to do it for whatever reason.
Right.
So that's good. We have a cabin speaker, cabin briefing. Does that actually work? Does that do anything right now?
So it is something we wanted to get in. I don't think it's going to make it for release. We do have the recordings. We just have to hook them up. So yeah, we actually do have recordings in. There's like a few. I think if you press it, you can see the page.
Yeah.
There's like a few languages. I think it was like English, French, Spanish, something like that. Yeah, Portuguese, and German. So we do have the recordings for it. We just got to hook it up. I'm not sure if it's going to make it for release. Might be tight. but it's probably going to come in like one of the first updates. So that is something we want to do.
So,
and
one thing I've always wondered, I'm sorry to cut you off, is how does cabin announcements work in business jets? I've never had the luxury of riding in a business jet before with anyone or at all. Do they have flight attendants like airliners do? Is it just a recording they press and there's like this automatic voice that does it for the passengers, or is the pilot, does he have to do the safety briefing? Do you know how that works in real life on a real business jet?
So I was fortunate enough to go ride on a business jet. It was a crazy enough, it was a Global 7500, which is just about one of the biggest business jets you can get a ride on, right? That one did have a flight attendant. So it is my understanding, after kind of being surrounded by a ton of guys who do this for a living,
Yeah.
that in an airplane like a Sovereign, you probably won't have a flight attendant. It's really not likely. It's not really necessary either. If you move up to like a Challenger 650 or like a Global, though, maybe even a Challenger 350 at some operators, you will get a flight attendant. But for a airplane like this, I haven't really heard of people actually using the cabin announcements. Most times you'll just have the captain kind of go in the back, brief the passengers, the required stuff like your emergency procedures and overall, what to expect for the flight. So I mean, the cabin briefing was kind of just something we've thought about adding as like a gimmick. Because when we did ask one of the pilots that got us some reference pictures of it, they said that they don't really use it. But it's there if anyone actually wants to use it. Now, obviously, this all depends on your operator and whatnot, but that's kind of my general understanding.
Nice. So basically, passengers can just go and pick up their drinks and so on as they please. Once they get in the air, there's no serving them. I guess not in all cases, but in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, typically, small to mid-sized jet, you won't really see a flight attendant. It's kind of just your airplane. And the captain may come back occasionally just to give you a briefing or whatever and accommodate whenever that he can.
Very nice. Let's see. So that's the cabin management. I want to kind of go back and take... Uh-oh, did I press the button? Over speeding for some reason. Oh, we're descending.
Yeah, you probably just kind of caught just barely the oral. You're just on the edge there.
Nice. So we've reached the top of the descent nicely. About 20 minutes from our bottom of the descent. We're descending at a 2.5 degree angle. So a nice shallow descent. But again, good time to kind of give a quick look at the cabin. Now, I know you're not the 3D modeling guy. You're not the sound guy. So I won't really bug you with too many questions on the cabin. But we'll do a quick walkthrough for the chat for anyone who wants to see it. Remember, guys, we do have John here. He is one of the lead developers on the Skyward Simulations team making this Citation Sovereign. If you have any questions for him specifically, go ahead and drop them in the chat, and I'm sure he'll be willing to answer as much as he can. Again, no release date yet. All we know is soon. Take that how you want it, but not too much more waiting to go before we can get this in your hands. So here in the entertainment screen, we have like a Your Trip button, which shows us, looks like the map, which is pretty cool. We also have the preferences, where we can change display style, Celsius, Fahrenheit, and so on. We got our video, which I think you can upload a video. Is that how that works?
That I don't think so. I think it's just a placeholder page.
Placeholder, okay. That makes sense. I'm not sure why you want to upload a video there. Audio, as you showed me earlier, there's actual music in here that we can play. Yeah, it is copyright free, which is nice.
Yep.
Not sure where you got this playlist from, but still
actually
kinda
one of the
cool.
this person Lucas is a good friend of him, of the person who made the music, and I think he also made some music for the I Build trailers.
Really?
So, yeah.
Huh.
If you want to see something cool, I did
Yeah.
hook it up to the
I
avionics,
like cool things.
so you can actually play it, and then control the volume from essentially the GTC.
Okay, explain. How do we do that?
So yeah, press
Home?
audio and then play the well, you're gonna have to play it in the passenger controller first.
Okay,
So
okay.
there is no way to kind of start it from the GTC.
Gotcha. Alright, we'll use this one over here. Go to audio. Play. Alright, now what?
And now if you go to the GTC up front, in the top left you'll see like audios and radios.
Yep.
If you press that, and then you'll just be able to scroll down just a little bit until you see speaker. You see like a volume slider, and then you can just click and drag to adjust the volume.
I think I see DME, clicks. Must have passed it.
It's gonna be right above marker, kind of right below COM2.
Speaker. Yeah, yes, yeah. You're saying turn that up?
You can turn it up, down, mute it with the button. It should adjust the volume.
Yeah. So when I turned it down, I could barely hear it. Turn it up. That's cool. A little feature. I mean,
Yeah, I think that was just one of those
use it
like
too often, but still cool.
yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those like, oh, you know what? I have a little bit of free time. Let's just do it because why not? But yeah, just something I guess like another gimmick you could say.
Mm-hmm. And C. PT Voyage in chat is asking, how much of a study level is this plane, if at all? Can you answer that?
I guess it kind of depends on what you consider study level. Like, if you said, could a real sovereign pilot use this, like, you know, for training and recurrence and whatnot, to kind of familiarize themselves with the airplane and kind of see what they would expect the real airplane to do in terms of behavior, I would say yeah, totally. You know, there is a lot more that we did in terms. It's funny, whenever I go on these videos and whatnot, I always talk about like the avionics and electrical system because it's kind of like what you can see. It's like what's most obvious to you as a pilot. But pretty much everything in here is custom. Like our hydraulic system works exactly like the real thing does. The pressurization, I worked on that recently. Works really well, and I'm happy with how it turned out. The anti-ice was another big project that I've taken on to kind of get right. And I do have some demos in the development Discord in the main Discord, in the development chat, where I kind of explain and I go into really good detail about how some of these things work underneath. Bleed air is another big one. I mean, I could honestly go on and on. It's just hard, I guess, to show it off.
Yeah, because a lot of the systems that make the aircraft special, and you know, you're not using the word study level, right? But the fidelity, the system depth of the aircraft goes far beyond what we can see. And,
right, what meets the eye.
Yeah,
sure.
And even what we press, right? Because, I mean, you've explained to me before, there's a lot of systems that you never necessarily interact with fully.
Yeah, I mean, even though, like, a good example is the fire protection system, right? I've pretty much we have like documentation of exactly how the printed circuit boards and the logic boards work.
Yeah.
On some of these systems, and we've essentially just replicated it one to one. You know, obviously there might be some differences just because you can't always replicate something 100%. But you know, for a pilot, it's going to be the same thing essentially, and it's not really. I mean, a good example was our baggage heat fail, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bug that where the baggage heat shouldn't really be open on the ground. It just happened to do that. But since the baggage heat valve is controlled by the squat switch on the right hand main landing gear printed circuit board, when we power cycled that circuit board, or yeah, that PCB on the right hand side, basically when we pulled the breaker and pushed it back in, kind of sent a new signal with, oh hey, the baggage heat valve is open, let's close it. And it's not like something I scripted intentionally, like, oh, just pull the breaker and push it back in and everything. Like, that's not. It was just purely, out of curiosity, I guess. It's like, I know how this thing works underneath, so I kind of had you try it out, and it just ended up working. And the same thing kind of happened, like I mentioned briefly, with the pressurization controller. There was like a fault. I was like, okay, maybe we just, you could turn the airplane off, turn it back on, and then it sorts itself out. So it works kind of organically in a way where you can see some issues which we may not have even intentionally made on our own, but I'd be lying if I would say that these airplanes don't do this kind of thing in real life, right?
Yeah.
These are large machines. They get ran that over 1,000 hours a year, sometimes depending on the operator, and things break. Airplanes have one job, and that is to break, not fly. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just cool. Obviously, there's no actual failure simulation that we intentionally developed. It's just that it just so happens that it kind of turns out to work like this. But further down the line, I kind of want to also implement a failure system and whatnot, so you can play around and kind of see a lot more of how the system behaves, and kind of like the domino effects of everything when, say, you do pull that one relay that may control like one of the pitot-static heaters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I mentioned this. I don't think I mentioned this, but when I first started developing like the airplane, I kind of kept it to pilot level, right? So what you would see in your in your POHs and stuff, it's kind of like how I would develop the airplane as the scope and whatnot. But then we've gotten access to more resources, more documentation. We've started to got into maintenance level things, and it just expanded the horizon for what was possible. And our electrical system went from being, pretty decently modeled and definitely sufficient for your pilots and whatnot. But now we have every single light that you see in the airplane, every single push button, every single seatbelt sign, every single like shade motor is simulated as an individual circuit. All your relays that energize high load components, that relay is broken. Your heat may not work. Your pumps may not work. Depending on the component that we're talking about.
Yeah.
For example, I just implemented a few hours ago before the stream the stall warning computer on the shakers, basically your stick shaker. So there is a circuit breaker in the cockpit that you can pull. It's the left and right angle of attack computers. Those essentially generate a signal to start the shakers on the yokes. So if that computer fails, the shaker will not initiate, and you'll see that reflected in the stall warning test. If you essentially try to do a test with one of those breakers pulled, and you'll probably end up getting like a fail on that test. So it's there is like, we are building the airplane. This is kind of how it is. It's like we are building the airplane to be capable of a really well done failure simulation. We just have to build the interface for it so that it's easy to use, right? We also obviously have to test it to make sure that it kind of works how you would expect it to, because for our airplane, it's going to take quite a bit of time to go through every single component and make sure that if this component fails, this is what we should expect, right? So that's why I guess we're not really we didn't really think about it too much for release, because it is going to be a pretty time-consuming project to tackle, but it is something I kind of want to do because like I mentioned before, it's it'll help build the foundation for future projects and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
So a lot of yapping, but
no, you're good.
I hope that answers the question in a little bit.
It was a good explanation. Basically, it's a very, again, a lot of system depth, very high fidelity in the hydraulics, electrical, and so on. So, and I think that's what a lot of people want. They want to see that their systems are actually fully modeled on the interior or behind the scenes, rather than just what you see doing all the work. So that's cool. Again, if you guys are just joining us, we have John here. He is one of the main developers from Skyward Simulations, the maker of this very aircraft, the Cessna Citation Sovereign. We're currently descending through 18,000 feet for runway 7 in Montego Bay, Jamaica. I do a few preparations here to prepare for landing. John, you could step in at any point if I'm doing anything in the wrong order. I'm just kind of winging it right now. But basically, I think I want to go over to my perf page, go to landing data, and then be able to get the weather. Current weather is the only weather I can use. I can't use.
Oh, so weight, or sorry, WT is actually your weight. Yeah.
Weight.
So you want to use predicted for that. And that'll probably be the most accurate for when you land, right?
Wait, what did I click on? Destination, yeah, weather. Oh, METAR. Right, okay. Runway, reload. 9,000 feet of runway, okay. Landing config, full. Is flaps full? Pretty typical for this plane as well.
Yep.
Alright, cool. Auto throttle off. Now we have our landing data. Accept the landing speeds. I got plenty of runway. Approach speed 107, VREF 100. And we have a little bit of a crosswind on our landing into Jamaica.
Real quick, just double check that I think you accepted it and kind of just went away. And try that one more time.
Did it? Or did I just did I not click it?
Yeah, you may have just misclicked, or I'm not sure, but there you go now. So
it's possible I didn't click it.
And we should be able to see on the speed tape. So
yeah,
all good there.
Yeah. I see it. All right, we're below 18,000 feet as well. Let me get the weather, which we now have down here. 2994. So I'm gonna go here to my barrel. I can pre-select that to 2994, and then hit standard. Gotta slide all the way to the right side. Do the same thing on this side. Where is it? Up there. Go to 2994. It's a couple clicks. I don't think I touched the center one. I usually don't, so we're good with that. We're descending. We should be on the ground shortly for the ILS 7. I believe usually in these Garmins, once you kind of put an approach in, it automatically will put that in standby for your nav.
Yeah, that should ideally be what it'll do.
I'll double check that is correct on my end. Yeah, it says 109.5. Is that the right one? I believe that's the right one.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you could always just manually change it. Sometimes it'll auto tune. I think there's also a distance from the destination that you have to be for it to auto tune. It might be like 33 miles, which we may just be on the cusp of.
True.
But worst case scenario, you just tune it in manually, and hopefully, I mean, as long as the scenery is not messed up, the ILS should go up fine.
Well, we'll wait and see what it does. I'll tell you what, man. Flying a business jet with auto throttle is a game changer. Most business jets that I've flown, tend to not have an auto throttle, which it's still fun to fly them. You know, I can usually do the climb out fairly easy once my mouth gets used to wait, what? What was I saying? I like zoned out for a second. I was thinking of hot Cheetos. I was thinking of hot. I was like, once my mouth gets used to hot Cheetos, I was like, wait, where am I going? I'm getting tired. Chat. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. We're talking about descending, I think, or ILSs or something.
It was like climbing and then descending with auto throttle.
Yeah. Auto throttle. Man, wow, I went way off from auto throttle to hot Cheetos. Yeah, I'm getting tired. Yeah, so it's a game changer flying with the auto throttle. Most planes I fly, at least business jet wise, don't have them, so it's nice to have it. Like it's so much more chill. I don't have to worry about it. Like last time I touched it was when we took off. Since then I haven't touched it. Here comes 10,000 feet though, and we'll start getting some lights on, and the passenger safety comes on, I believe, at this point as well. You can see on our map, the airport, the island, and the airport is just up ahead. Zoom. I'm getting used to this whole little like layout you got going on here. I'm not used to using this layout. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. I do. I gotta say, the aircraft has slowed down automatically to 250 knots to meet that 250 knot speed restriction that we all have below 10,000 feet, and it met it perfectly. So that's good. We're planning on landing from, I believe it's right to left. So what we're gonna happen here, kind of basically brief our arrival. We'll go to D3210, and we'll make a right turn, like an arcing right-hand turn here to get to D25 and D253 and so on. And then that's gonna then intercept us on our actual ILS at that point. And that's pretty much it. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward approach. I have my altitude set to 3,500, which should bring us most of the way down.
Yeah, so maybe you
Moxie there.
Could probably also bug. I don't know if you have the chart up. You probably look at the glide slope intercept altitude, and then we could just get rid of VNAV and kind of vertical speed it down to basically be at that altitude before we intercept the glide slope, and that'll put us on a good profile.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good idea. I do have the chart up on my other screen. 1850 at Anapa, but we'll be going through a Moxie is where we really are going to be reaching it. So what do you suggest? Go down here and change that to, actually it should be 3,000. Actually it should be 3,000.
Honestly, you could do it a few ways. How I would probably go about this is probably just once I get closer to a Moxie, I'll just turn off VNAV and go into vertical speed, and then I'm not sure if you know about the let's call it the banana, the altitude banana. Yeah. So I'll kind of just put that. I'll set like 1900 on the pre-selector, and then I'll adjust my vertical speed so that I can make 1900 by a nappy.
Okay.
You'll probably also see.
I'm laughing at myself earlier. We're talking about hot Cheetos.
Completely out of the blue.
Completely out of the blue. What a daydreaming mid sentence. Oh my god, that's hilarious. So you're saying go into vertical speed mode, use a banana to kind of help guide us down to get to reach that altitude before the actual restriction does so.
Yeah, so you can, still plan for like 3,000 at a Moxie, right? Because that's the minimum altitude we got to be at. And it'll be interesting to see how the Garmin handles this turn in, because remember we're still on that vectors to final, right?
Yeah.
So gonna turn towards a Moxie, but it might actually overshoot. Honestly, what you may want to do. Most
likely it will. I feel like at this point we could probably activate approach. No.
So yeah, if you do activate approach, it will kick you off FMS and you'll go into heading mode. So you may want
Oh
to kind of
yeah.
vector yourself around. So if you want, I can kind of be a little bit of a mini controller here.
Yeah, yeah, you're good,
And
man.
let's do heading mode. Let's fly a heading of 240.
All right. Let's sync my heading and then go heading at 240, which will be to the right. All right. Heading mode activated. And now that we've done that, we're now in pitch mode.
Yep. So we can probably I'll just say descend maintain 3000.
Like
We
vertical
can
speed
probably
mode.
yeah, and then maybe like 1500 feet per minute, 2000. You can actually probably keep
100-ish.
that turned coming as well. Maybe like a new heading of 260.
All right, heading
Probably good enough.
26.
And I'm just trying to give you some space here, right? So you don't end up high.
Yeah, because we were gonna be high. I think that what the VNAV was accounting for was like it's potentially flying the course reversal over a Moxie before we actually did the approach, which would have brought us in
Mm.
higher.
Yeah, because remember it since it has that discontinuity, the VNAV kind of just stops at
Yeah.
Omoxy, right? So it doesn't really know what to do afterwards.
Sir
But
Dexter says, "John, see if I win." I think he's working on it.
yeah, soon. I mean, maybe in the next month or two.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if timing allows me.
Get
Now
your
that we're
shades back up.
now that we're on vectors, you can go ahead and activate vectors to final and procedures.
Right?
And then that should, I think, since we're on an ILS, that'll put you in green needles.
Yeah.
Now let's see. I don't know if you got a signal yet. I'm looking. All right, so you got a
Yeah, we
signal.
got it.
So you got your signal and your DME. It just went away because we're over 20 miles now, but it'll come back once we turn in. Now you can we can definitely turn in now. So let's do like a left turn, like a 120 heading.
All right, left turning 120.
And I'm basically giving you a nice 30-degree intercept, nothing too sharp. And honestly,
We are level
if
at
I'm just
3,000 feet.
yeah, there you go. So
E243.
you got plenty of time here to get ready and whatnot, right? And a nice trick you can do since you're not really going to capture the localizer from here. If you go to your left GTC,
Uh huh.
where it says loc 2, put that back to FMS.
It
So we'll go.
says what two?
It's going to be on the far left GTC. Sorry.
Oh, on the far left one.
Yeah, it'll be on the top left button. It will say loc 2 or loc 1 maybe. Sorry.
It said loc one.
Yeah, loc 1. Go to FMS and then go into nav mode.
You want me to leave it on loc one?
No, go into just FMS and then nav mode.
FMS. Okay. And then back to nav mode. Okay. And basically, what
So
you're
now,
having us do is having the aircraft now follow the GPS to the approach rather than
exactly.
vectoring it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, you activated vectors to final, right? But you don't have that ILS signal, so you can't really like intercept the loc because we're so far out. But because Garmin, thankfully, draws out that like extended center line, essentially, we could still just come in GPS, track it, and then once we're a little bit closer, we can switch to green needles and actually capture the localizer and glide slope.
I actually do see the field way out there in the distance. All right, let's get some sounds back up. And I'll get the replay going too.
terms of speeds in this thing, I'd say, you know, once you're within like maybe 13 miles, kind of slow down to 200 or whatever, which we may be coming up on here soon. Slow to 200, get your first notch of flaps out.
There's a manual speed here on the speed.
Yeah, you could do that. It'll also bug the speed automatically as you bring the flaps down. But sometimes you're like right on the limit of extension. So it's good to do main speed first, bug it down, then put in flaps. And you also just have full control of the speed at this point, so
yeah,
you can do whatever you want. So I can't tell, are we 10 or 15 out? What does it look like on the PFD there?
It's like we're 15.
Alright, so yeah, we got time, we'll kind of stay here. I'm going to be at our 3000 by Omoxy, and then once we cross Omoxy, there you go. So it looks like you actually got your glide slope. So you can arm approach now.
Yep.
You should be able to see loc and glide slope in white.
Approach.
Since we have that preview. We like to call it ghost needles, right? It is gray.
There we go.
So
Hi, approach is armed.
Perfect. So yeah, we're on loc now. Glide slope is armed. And we're just going to follow that glide slope needle down once it comes and passes us.
Raise your window shade. There we go. Oh, the other side of the closed. Oh well.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, you could also just do it from the GTC, and then you'll be able to open all of them at once.
All right.
You don't have to go through like each controller.
We are approaching the green diamond here at 3,000 feet at Omoxy. I think I want to slow down a bit more.
Yeah, so you can probably target maybe like 170 or even like 160, so you can get your flaps out. So we're below 200. We can do flaps 1. That'll help us slow down.
Alright, here comes flaps 1.
And if you need speed brakes, that'll also, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna use some. We need them.
No harm in doing that. Gear, I think the extension gear speed is 210, so you could also drop the gear.
Right,
that'll also help slow the airplane. And then yeah, we could just basically do flaps 2, 160 for a while.
Flaps 2.
There we go. And what I like to do in terms of, you know, profile, like speed profiles, kind of on short funnel here. Anywhere from like 500 feet to 1500, I like to do ref plus 10 as my approach speed. So just add 10 onto your ref speed once you're kind of in that range, which you almost are in a sec. And then you can go flaps full. Once you're at like 500 feet, you can bug VREF if you're not using auto throttle. If you are using auto throttle, do VREF plus 3.
Plus 3.
To give it some, to give it some margin. And then your flaps full speed is 170.
We can go flaps full now. And VREF plus 3. We'll do 10. I'll do auto throttle. Why not? Close enough. Speed will start coming back on its own. gonna turn off the noise cancellation so everybody can actually hear. It's gonna be a little loud, but let's get it. Oh no. All right, my controls.
Autopilot.
And my throttle.
And real quick before landing, you'll also want to have the yaw damper disengaged so you don't fight the rudder.
Okay.
Yeah. On landing, the speed brakes will not come up automatically. You have to do that manually. And then for you to get your thrust reversers to activate, all three basically landing gears have to be on the ground. So that includes your nose gear.
Okay.
And then yeah, just approach the runway at VREF. And she's a floater, so even if you're slightly fast, you can expect it to float just a little bit.
40, 30, 20.
Too low. Terrain.
And reversers. Don't really need them, honestly.
Nah, I mean, yeah, you could do your brakes.
Didn't really need them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Montego Bay, Jamaica. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Hope it wasn't too bumpy. We'll take it over to this little FBO over here, I guess.
Have you been here before in real life?
No, I have not.
Ah, okay.
Have you?
Yeah, quite a few times.
Really?
Montego Bay was a very popular vacation spot for us many years ago. But it's been a while. I think they used to fly 747s into here, like maybe 2015 or something.
Just gonna park at this hangar because I don't know where to park.
Yeah, that's fine. And then your after landing flow, you know, clean up the airplane, right? So your flaps are up and whatnot, you know, what you got. And then you would turn your pitot-static off. And then obviously your strobes. And then you could also start the APU as you taxi in.
Okay. Alright, that should be good there. Brake sets, APU starting up. The anti-collision lights on the beacon, right? Not the strobe.
So the beacons are actually automatic. When the engine switches are in run, the anti-collision is your strobe.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the airplane's smart enough to know that your engine is running, but it's not smart enough to know, like, if you intend on crossing a runway or, you know, entering it and whatnot. That it leaves it up to you.
Alright, so we'll hit our engines to stop. APU is already on. And we can get doors open.
Oh, there you go.
I can. Oh, here it is. Handles up here, and there we go. Well, John, it's been a pleasure, man, flying with you. I really appreciate you showing me the ropes, showing me how to fly the plane, showing me a deep dive into the systems of the plane. Yeah, love it. I love it. I really do. I really do. I've told you this before. I've been flying it a lot. I plan to fly it a lot more in the future as you guys continue to bring more builds, more updates, and the full release of the aircraft. As you know, I do love the Phenom, but I also love this too. I feel like they kind of like they live in a great world together where you have a light jet and a super midsize, right? So I really enjoyed flying this aircraft. And I really love the auto throttle on this thing. It's also very unique looking plane as well with the massive wings. The sounds are great. So definitely be flying it more. Hopefully we can fly some more this week. And if yep, GG's in the chat. Airport and Plane Spotter says I flew IRL from Cancun to Montego Bay as a pilot in a Citation Bravo. Beautiful flight. Nice. Anything else you want to kind of say, John? Anything I didn't ask you, or you want to promote, or that I missed?
No, honestly, it was great. I'm happy you were able to bring me on, kind of show you around, and kind of talk about the airplane a little bit more. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good addition to the sim. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't bouncing between this and the Phenom already. So yeah, that'd be me. Raul and I are like really good friends.
Yeah.
But I think with these two airplanes especially, people are gonna really enjoy it a lot.
It's all love, and I love that. Like I love that you're not straying away from mentioning the Phenom, right? It's like the community are gonna obviously try to sit there and compare, like, this versus the Phenom. I've gotten the comments already in my previous videos, like, what do you think about this versus the Phenom? And like, my honest, genuine opinion, whether you are on this call or not, is that both, for me, like, I like both. I want to have both in my hangar, right? And depending on how you price this thing, people will be able to afford to have both in their hangar, or they'll pick and choose. Some people want a larger size jet with auto throttle, right? The whole no auto throttle is kind of intimidating to some people, right? The look of it. Some people prefer Citation, so it's a preference thing. It's a preference thing. I'm just happy that we're in a time right now where we have so many great business jets coming out, and one of those just happens to be the one that you're making. So you should be proud of what you guys have come up with so far and what you're releasing. And I want to say again, huge shout out and congrats in advance on this plane. And I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm really looking forward to whatever you guys are gonna make next as well. As long as you give us this quality on the next project, looking forward to that. Orphican in the chat is asking, what dev is it? This is the developer of Skyward Simulations, the sovereign Citation Sovereign we have on the call today. He's been flying along with us the entire flight, giving us some tips, some behind the scenes insight on the aircraft and the development. So I won't keep you any longer, John. Thank you, man, so much for hanging out. Again, sorry for the delayed start and the baby issues and the technical problems. It's just, you never know.
No worry, man.
I really appreciate you.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate your patience, man, and it's really genuinely an honor. Thank you, and also thank you to Lucas, rest of the team, for allowing me to be able to showcase this early on. So, man, have a great week. Get to work, make sure this thing comes out smoothly, and yeah, man, we'll definitely be talking to you again soon. Thank you, man.
Will do. Thank you so much, man. It's been awesome.
Sweet. I'll catch you later. I'm gonna stick around and just watch the replay if I can. I don't know. Is that gonna break anything if I run the replay back? Is that gonna?
Oh man, I can't lie. I haven't done. Wow, I haven't done a replay in maybe like 5 years on any flight sim.
Oh my goodness.
So I guess this is where Tester Blue comes in.
We're gonna find out.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out. I always get nervous when I run replay on any Microsoft Flight Sim aircraft, because I don't know what's gonna break, what sounds I'm gonna hear. You know what I mean? Like,
it's gonna be interesting to see, because I'm actually curious myself.
Yeah, but I'm gonna run the replay back and kind of watch it a couple times while I say goodbye to the viewers. But man, again, thank you, man. I'll let you go. Again, I've kept you long enough. I don't want to keep you up too long. I know you got a lot of work to do and sleep and all that. So thank you again, man. Have an amazing night. I will catch you later.
Sure thing, man. Take it easy. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Again, guys, that was John, the mastermind behind the heart of the Citation Sovereign, which is coming soon. No release date just yet. No release date, but we know it is coming very soon. All right, so let's go ahead and watch our replay and we'll get out of here. 'Cause I am also getting tired. Got me out here talking about Cheetos. We'll see how the replay runs. I thought the landing was fairly smooth. A little long on the landing, but other than that, it was fairly smooth. Let's hit play. And we'll fast forward. I'll tell you what, man.
Terrain.
It's running pretty smooth, I think. Gotta clear out a few things. But it's working. It's working. Can I get a refill? Here's a landing. Beautiful approach into Jamaica, man. Love it. Wow, look at that. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't get to do this too often. We don't get a lot of special guests at all on the channel, but it's really nice to get a special guest who actually spent so much time developing this very plane we're flying, giving us some tips and learning about it, the inside out. Hopefully you guys don't mind us going to quite a bit of a deep dive there on the aircraft and systems. Thank you guys for sticking around and sticking with us. Yeah, we kind of floated a little bit there. Oh yeah, we floated a lot actually. And she finally came down. Nice, negative 100 feet per minute there. Nose comes down. And then the reverser should come out. I don't know if it recorded the reverser animation. Doesn't look like it did. But not bad. I gotta say, my personal opinion on how it flies. Again, I am not a real Citation pilot. So I take it how you want it. But what I usually look forward to when it comes to aircraft is kind of just like the smoothness of the aircraft. How smooth does it feel when I'm actually manipulating the yoke and so on. I watch it just one more time. I actually got to run. The wife is calling me to help with the baby again. We're trying to figure out if he's sick or what's going on. He's been very fussy, and he threw up earlier in the stream, which is why I had to step away so abruptly. But yeah, we'll watch it one more time, and then I gotta run before she gets angry at me. But man, beautiful plane. And looking forward to flying it more. We will fly. I am planning to do another stream in this aircraft this week. Not sure what day it might be. Tomorrow, might be later in the week. Pick her up. We might use jet car. We didn't use jet car in today's flight. Had a very specific route that I want to fly. All right, let's rewind it back a decent distance. And we'll watch the full approach. I think that's good there. Alright guys, thank you so much. Again, I gotta run, take care of the baby and stuff and the family. You guys are freaking amazing for sticking around. I'll catch you guys later this week. Dom Juan, Christopher Ramirez, Airport and Plane Spotter, K Soldier, Orphan 6 Dexter, Jeff Simpson, Fly Too High, Rensader, Higher Clouds, Hubble Man, Peachy Voyage, C, Owls. If I missed your name, I apologize. Until next time, remember you have 3 choices. Give up, give in, and give it all. You got peace, love, and God bless you. I will see you guys next time in the next video. SimCiFi, I see you, bro. You always hop in right at the last second. Good to see you, man. Hope you have a great night. See you.
200. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10,
Too low. Terrain.